Hi, welcome to Ray's Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and today we're going to be looking at some classic comic reissues. Okay, so back in the day, some artists and their involvement in older comics made it prohibitive to try and buy them because other collectors were looking for the same people you were. Basil Wolverton's early appearances in comics made those comics more expensive than others, and these books are like this one. I think this one's from 2008, and this was a great comic to get. These were great to get. First off, you know, a lot of these comics, a lot of these artists, they would only have one story in an issue. So you know, just to get even the smallest collection of their early stuff, you would have to track down a bunch of different issues. This was great. This is one of Basil Wolverton's early comic characters, Space Hawk. The Space Hawk comics have now been collected into a book. I don't know if it's still available, but and it goes from the. It has all of them, even the ones. Space Hawk was basically in the early issues. He was a very hard-boiled kind of guy doling out space justice. And then the last couple of stories that were done, he came to Earth to fight the Nazis. Those really aren't very interesting, but these early ones are prime Wolverton with weird monsters and stuff. And this was done by Dark Horse. The Creeping Death from Neptune. I think that's what the title of the book is that reprints those. I'm not sure. But you can see here, like, it's got the usual weirdness of Basil Wolverton. I mean, look at these guys' faces and how they're made. And here's a blob thing that's he does a great job of making it seem menacing by making these tendrils. You know, sometimes they look like it's just a blobby thing, but sometimes it looks like menacing hands. And you know, our heroes comes swooping down to foil the bad guys' plots. Again, this is these were originally in color. Now, when Dark Horse was reprinting them, you know, when you go to reprint these old comics, you do the first pass you do to restoring them, you end up with a black and white version that you then have to at the time they would recolor them then. Now that made these kind of expensive, and probably, you know, they decided, okay, that's out of our league. So they did not color them. They just did the first pass. These are black and white. I think these look good colored. I also think they look good in black and white. And at the time, I was very happy to have them. And, you know, here our hero throws the space pirate, as they call him. And the fate he had set for the Earth Woman becomes his own when he's gobbled up by that blob. And here's Space Hawk goes to a water planet. There's two different species there. Interesting looking. Very good. An underwater flamethrower. So, yeah, so this reprint, and here's, this is someone creating their own new version. I forgot about this. This is one of Wolverton's aliens from one of his horror comics. He did not meet up with the Hawk in Basil's original. Very nice, though. Very nice indeed. And now, for Eclipse Comics, this is Michael T. Gilbert, had a character called Mr. Monster. And he's a guy who used his He used his big old gun to kill monsters, especially those scaring children, attacking children. And he has kind of a Will Eisner kind of look to his artwork in these things. But in this Mr. Monster's High Octane Horror, there were several of these where Mr. Monster is just, that's the story in the beginning. But then here you go, another Basil Wolverton horror comic, The Man Who Never Smiled. Now, I don't know if, you know, I know some guys will go through the whole comic and read the comic to you. I'm not thinking you need me to do that for you, but if enough people asked, hey, maybe I could. I can even do a lot of voices. I used to do that for my daughters when I read bedtime stories to them. And I used to read a lot of comics to them, so, you know, I'm used to doing a lot of voices. Yeah, so that's a very short one, a 3-page horror story. I'm not sure where this is from. This does not look like an older one. But it's got a pretty cool monster in it, though. So, there you go. Now, along with that, we've also got Mr. Monster's True Crime. Once again, it starts off with something by Michael Gilbert. And then, dun dun dun, it's Jack Cole's crime comics. And they were some of the ones that they used as evidence of how horrifying crime comics would be for kids to read. And this has just got like that, the eye danger there, you know, guys shaking and twitching. She's laying in bed in the middle of the day in her nightgown. So yeah, this is the stuff. And I like Cole's work a lot because it's not really realistic. I mean, these guys are definitely cartoon characters, right? But that makes them more expressive than the guys who tried to play it straight, I believe. And I like these a lot more. I think his style holds a lot of impact. And this is definitely, now these were reissued, and again, at the time these came out, they hadn't been reissued. These were great. There's been several books about the crime comics that have come out that have reissued these things. But again, this was great for the time, and you know, I think you could probably find this pretty cheap. So if you just want a taste of this stuff, there it is. Oh. Demons Dance on Galloway Moor. So, yeah, I'm trying to, Sawney Bean, yeah. So this is the supposed true story. There's some debate as to how true it is about people who ran off, a couple who run off to get away from their two families who didn't want them to get married. They start living in a cave, and they survive by killing the people, you know, people who are passing by, and cannibalizing them. And eventually they have children, and their children are more like wild animals than human beings. And so, you know, it has the people tracking them down to kill them, stuff like that. That's, you know, this is, you know, a lot of places claim this is kind of what different scenarios are based on. How true it is under some debate, but this is a great, I mean, the way he draws these figures and the way they're attacking there, fantastic. Oh, and this is a good one too, because this guy, he draws this guy so laughable with his tiny little head and this huge body. But he's a murdering psychopath. He's pretty cool. And then they did a second issue. The best was, oh, there's a follow their Bonnie and Clyde crime spree. So I won't go into too much more of that, but those are really great early crime stuff. Here's some early Bob Powell Flying Saucer comics are reprinted in this. Super Science Atom Age Sci-Fi. And it's not really my thing. I don't get much out of the whole Flying Saucer. And superior race. They do look much more intelligent than us, don't they? So there's that one. And then Weird Romance. These are, again, this as you can see, the crime ones, they redid the color. These are more that are just black and white. It says Weird Romance. This one is about two vampires in love. I'll show you the vampire. I don't want to give away the ending, but some classic stuff there. This guy falls in love with someone, turns out to be a mermaid. There's a monster there at the end. Good stuff. Oh, and this one's pretty cool too, with the spiders. But to work, one must have nourishment. So a very intelligent spider talking to his poor victim, which probably doesn't help the guy. No, Air Fighters, these were pretty famous for being goofy reprints, and so I picked these up at the time. You know, this kid can fly. And he's a bit of a goof. You can see how goofy looking he is. And the whole thing's played for laughs. The artwork's pretty fun. And this doofus, yeah, that'll strike the fear into the hearts of your enemy. It's wearing kids today wear those kind of hats. These evil Asians have got dragons to attack. That guy's pretty, those are all pretty over the top. So they've reprinted some classic anti-Nazi comics there. And then lastly, there's Spicy Tales. And these were comics that were had some rather adult kind of feel to them. Like this woman, Sally the Sleuth. She's chasing after the dwarf. She gets on the back of the car. Somehow, the ride on the back of the car, her clothes are shredded. So now she's just in her underpants, and that's how she does the rest of her adventures. So this would be considered good girl art. Nowadays we'd call it fan service. That one doesn't have any of that spiciness to it. Here's one where he's undressing a woman who's passed out. Pretty, oh, and look at this torture device. Yikes! And this fella ends up on an island where women run around topless. National Geographic style. These covers are not from the originals, but more spiciness. Hey, that's all for now. But those are some classic comics reprinted. I hope you enjoyed that quick peek.